All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Monty and Murdy College Football Show, and we are here for a Week 13 preview, a week that looks like a little bit of a sleeper schedule, but that's just because the SEC, most of the SEC is kind of taking the week off.
Yeah. Thought there was something to follow up there. No, I mean, for a little, there's a couple big matchups. One sneaky matchup, and this is not, there's no bias when it comes to this. It's a big matchup once you find out, kind of the history behind it. Tennessee travels to the Swamp this week.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So, and
you want to add that or no?
We can touch on it briefly. There's not much to talk about.
We'll start there.
We could. Yeah, we could start there. I could kind of go on about that. But no, yeah, so that game, obviously Florida being 3-7, vice versa, Tennessee being 7-3, on paper might not be, why is that a big deal? Well, Tennessee hasn't won in the Swamp since 2003. Tennessee had lost to them from 2016 to 2022 outright, just whether it be home or away. And then yes, up until this point now, Tennessee hasn't been able to beat Florida in the Swamp since 2003. So it's a big deal for Tennessee. Obviously Florida is 3-7, but they're not very 3-7-ish. If that makes sense. Texas went in there and
it's like a competitive 3-7.
Yeah, you just don't know what Florida you're going to get. And most Tennessee fans know what Florida we're going to get. We're going to get their Super Bowl. Not saying this is Florida's Super Bowl every year, but for this particular season, when this is really the only thing they got left to play for, I mean, yeah, you're going to get the rivalry.
Yeah, bowl eligibilities. Yeah, they're not going to be bowl eligible, I don't think, unless they.
The goal is to ruin the rival season. I mean,
yeah, that's the goal.
Tennessee's trying to go 9-3. They're 7-3 now. They got the game in the Swamp against Florida this week. They got Vandy in Neyland the following week. So, it's going to be a big deal for Florida. It's a very big deal for Tennessee because this is one that they can realistically get, and it'll be the first time, like I said, since 2003 that they've won in the Swamp. So, big deal for both sides. We'll see if Florida, kind of has that one last hurrah in the tank for this one. But yeah, I believe Tennessee's only fit. So yeah, get this. So talk about Florida being 3-7, a competitive 3-7 team, and then Tennessee being 7-3. Yeah, Tennessee's favored by 3.5. So
yeah, it just shows you kind of where the odds makers see this one, and it's I wanted to clarify. Yeah, Florida's not going to be eligible for a bowl, so I mean, whether you want to say this one or the Florida State game that they play after this is going to be kind of their Super Bowl.
Yeah,
either way, I think they want to show up for. They want to show up for both of them here, end up 5-7, and
I guess the main reason why I say the Tennessee games, their Super Bowl this year specifically, I'm not bagging on Florida fans, it compared to the Florida State games, just because Florida State and Florida have kind of gone back and forth, in both both stadiums, whereas like I said, Tennessee hasn't won in the Swamp since 2003, and Florida's going to want to keep that streak alive. So.
What kind of Tennessee team do you think you're gonna see here? How motivated is Tennessee to go win this one? Obviously, you had the OU loss, and to give them their third loss, probably eliminate them from the playoff race. How motivated do you think this Tennessee team is here to finish out, get a win against Florida? Then they obviously have Vandy following that. What kind of motivation level are you going to see from a Tennessee team? This defense going to show up. Lagway's been known to give people a couple. You think this defense could show up, maybe take advantage, or maybe a good game from Joey Aguilar throwing the football, which the the Florida defense has kind of been the strength of their team through this season.
Yeah, so a couple different things with this one. So Coach Heupel actually talked about it in a presser that, this one is still very important to the team. And they know that it's very important to Florida still. So you hope, as a Tennessee fan, right, you hope that they go into this one, trying to break that streak of losing in the Swamp. What the advantage could be, from a quarterback standpoint on the Tennessee side, is Joey Aguilar's never played in one of these games. So you don't know what the Swamp is like. Yes, it's a very loud, very hostile environment. That's why Tennessee seemingly hasn't been able to go and win there for a very long time. But you hope that he goes in and just treats it like every other SEC away game. The concern is that Tennessee under Heupel kind of struggled in away games when it comes to SEC conference games, right? So they're motivated. You can see that, or at least that's what Heupel's been saying. The other thing is of concern on the Tennessee side is run defense, right? Florida has one of the best running backs in the SEC. Yes, he's not on a great team, but record-wise, but he's one of the best running backs in the conference. So if Florida can do what Mississippi State did against Tennessee in the run game, I mean that would cause a lot of problems for that defense. Because on paper, Tennessee's done fine against the run. They've struggled in the pass game, and that's I guess one of the other things that Tennessee could have a advantage of is, like you said, Lagway. He typically will give you one or two,
One or two.
But with a depleted defensive backfield and kind of how Tennessee's struggled in the pass game defensively, it's, there's a lot of things. Tennessee fans, I can tell you from firsthand, and based on what I've seen on Twitter and stuff, very concerned. It's a night game in the Swamp, of course. They like to schedule us away in rivalry games at night. So yeah, it's 7:30 Eastern kickoff, I believe, 6:30 Central.
Yeah,
In the
night
Swamp.
game, nice late.
It is,
ABC
but yeah,
prime time.
I mean, the thing is that the Tennessee team, they fully plan on going 9-3, but everyone plans on winning every game, right? So very real, I hope, biasly as a Tennessee fan, I try not to be biased, but I will say this one thing. I hope that the Tennessee team realizes how realistic 7-5 is this year. And they try to get the 9th, because you go one of two ways. I guess technically one of three ways, but two, you have your best outcome and your worst outcome, right? Your best outcome is obviously 9-3, winning out, right? And then you got two rivalry games. Worst outcome is 7-5.
7-5 going into next season hits a lot different when you got Aguilar leaving, so you'll have question marks at the quarterback position. I know they got a couple fives. They got at least one 5-star that's a backup, right? What's his name?
Yeah, G-Mac.
Yeah, G-Mac.
George McIntyre.
Yeah, 5-star there. So you got a lot of belief in what he's going to be. But as we've seen sometimes with 5-stars, it doesn't work out in the SEC. Example, Jackson Arnold. Example, Nico. Yeah. I'm a leaving. I don't know. I'm a
yeah, that's what some people were calling him.
Yeah, Nico, I'm a leaving. So either way, Tennessee fans, shout out for y'all on that one. Yeah, so the 5-stars don't always work out. So you'll have question marks going in when you got a team coming off of a 7-5 season. How quick can Heupel, get the defense reloaded to where they're performing at that 2024 Tennessee level? It's kind of where you want them to get back to. If Tim Banks, that's the defensive coordinator, right, for Tennessee?
Yeah, Tim Banks is the currently a very unpopular defensive coordinator at Tennessee,
right.
But you take that with a grain of salt, right? Because if they had the defense that they had last year, it's basically a top 10 defense. So
exactly. So just if it's a personnel deal, I mean, when you don't have your best secondary players, you really thought that was going to be probably the strength of your team coming into this season, until obviously the injuries occurred, or leaving last season, that was a part of the strength. Obviously the defensive line was really good too, but you had the secondary that could cover and allow the defensive line to get home. Well, I won't spend too much time on it. It's just 7-5 and 9-3 hit very different going into the next season, where at a program like Tennessee, the expectation is to compete every year. So the fan base is going to be looking for that next year.
Yeah. I mean, 8-4 is also, that's why I said one of three ways. 8-4 is you can split the last two, right? So
I guess so, yeah.
But yeah, no, I won't talk. We didn't have that one on the docket, so I will not predict it. And every time I pick Tennessee to pick a game, it seems like they lose. So
yeah, we'll skip. We'll not go on it. We'll dive into probably the second, or it's debatable whether or not this is the second or first best matchup. Depends if you're an SEC fan or a Big Ten fan, which one you probably think is the better matchup here. We got Missouri coming to Norman, Oklahoma, take on OU as OU comes off the big win versus Alabama. OU's a 6.5-point favorite on this one. But this is a Missouri team, man, they're very good at what they do, if that makes sense.
Run the ball.
Run the ball. Outside zone, baby. That's what we're doing. We want this thing to hit, give as many opportunities for this running back to hit a hole or find a crease as the play runs all the way towards the sideline. However, I think this OU defense, what stops the outside zone run is penetrating defensive line. That's exactly what OU's got. R. Mason Thomas looking like coming back. Jade Jackson maybe getting back to full health there along the defensive line for OU. And if you can just get a penetrating front, you can probably slow down this. I don't think you're going to completely stop this Missouri run game. And Ahmad Hardy, I think he's still going to get a lick here. Bo Prabula listed as doubtful. I'm going to expect him not to play in this one. And I bet we get Zollers again. And if you're relying on Zollers to if you're not able to run the ball as Missouri, this game's pretty much over for you. Because you're going to rely on Zollers to go against a very good OU defense that you just saw, wreak havoc on Ty Simpson. Nothing against Zollers. I just think Ty Simpson's playing at this level, and Zollers, we're just not there yet. He's very young. He's not to the point where he's progressing, getting through his second, third reads as Ty Simpson is as he's going through reading a defense. So, yeah, that's where it really boils down to me is if Missouri's going to be able to run the ball. OU, they can't turn the ball over, can't give Missouri multiple possessions. And as we said, we need a little bit more from John Mateer. This is a very good Missouri defense. As you look at the matchup for the defensive side of the ball, now granted, Missouri's lost the 3 big games that they've really had this year. If you want to count the border war against Kansas, they end up winning that one. Kansas kind of hasn't, not too much to be said of that one as we look at the season now. Look at that game in retrospect. But Missouri's a very good defense. They're very good in the front 7. So you need John Mateer, and you need the playmakers. You need Isaiah Satanga, Deion Burks, Jaron Canick, Javani Gibson. You need the playmakers at wide receiver and John Mateer specifically to step up in this game and hopefully get you a little QB run game and make some plays with his arm. Because if OU can do that and they continue to play to the success they've had of stopping the run, I like the matchup for OU. Let me just say that.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned I want to kind of touch on is, and this game. So yeah, I already said, I don't like I noted, I don't like the Matt Zollers and, OU defense matchup. That one concerns me the most, right?
Yeah.
But the other matchup that concerns me is the Mizzou defense against the OU offense. OU offense, we talked about it on the recap episode, the last episode. They're not. You need more from them, right? Mm-hmm. And the Mizzou defense, I believe they're top 20 in many of the defensive categories statistically. So that's another matchup that concerns me. But I believe that the key to the game on both sides is the unstoppable force against the immovable object, which is the Mizzou run game versus the OU run defense. Ahmad Hardy just ran for 3 bills against Mississippi State, right? But then you have OU strength being their run defense. So I think that's the key to this game primarily. I already mentioned that my concern is the Matt Zollers versus the OU defense. Mizzou's going to try to run the ball. We already know this. And, Brent Venables knows that, right? So that's going to be the key to the game, I think, primarily. I think OU's defense, just based on what I've seen, I have no reason to believe against it or believe otherwise. And I think that they get it done. I'm taking OU. I think you kind of foreshadowed that you were, but I'm taking OU to win this one. And it's in Norman. You just beat Alabama on the road. Norman's going to be buzzing. So.
Yeah, I mean, Mizzou has the advantage of, what travels is run games and defenses. However, that OU crowd's going to be juiced. I think this OU team's going to be juiced to play in front of their home crowd. And I don't think this OU team forgets
after 2 massive road wins.
Right. I don't think this OU team is going to be remiss on that this Missouri team beat them last year. In a game that OU almost won against what most people would probably say is a better Missouri team versus what it was a worse OU team as if you're looking at them in comparison, right? Um, so I think the coaching staff on them, everybody's real aware. I think they're going to be motivated for this game. I don't think you're going to have one of those deals where it's you got a team coming out after a big win, 2 big wins on the road where they're coming out lackluster. I think everybody knows what's on stake for this one, and I think the OU defense wants to come out and prove a point, right? I mean, Tennessee moved the ball on them. Alabama moved the ball on them. Yeah, was the defense the reason they won those games? Absolutely, but I think they want to get back to limiting teams to kind of that under 10. Um, Missouri scored 10 on Vanderbilt. Can OU keep them below that? We'll see. But I think that's the kind of game as OU wants to put it into is just really limiting that outside run, penetrating with their defensive line, and really make Zollers have to try to beat them. And I think you like your opportunities there if you're the Oklahoma defense, especially after what you saw. Because, I mean, granted, Hardy ran for 300 on Mississippi State. This is not Mississippi State he's about to go against. I
No,
think
it
this
is not. It
this
is definitely not.
this
It's
is
quite the opposite.
yeah, I think this is probably. I know statistically there's some skewed numbers there. I think it has to do with kind of the offense.
I guess my point is that he's the leading rusher in the nation in Doak Walker semifinals. So that's when it comes to the unstoppable force against the immovable object that is OU's defense, right?
Here's where I think in this game is where you're going to get a point of why scheduling these difficult games kind of mask how good a team may be. I think the OU defense, as a circumstances of their schedule, the teams they played, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, like those are three of probably the most potent offenses that you can face in college football right now, and that's kind of the benefit. Product of that is hey,
and they won, and they're 3-0 in those games.
Well, they lost to Ole Miss.
Or Ole Miss, sorry, yeah, 2-1, 2-1, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking
2-1 in those games, but yeah, they that's kind of a byproduct is that hey, our stats aren't going to look as good, but I think if you asked a bunch of coaches,
well, no, OU's still like top 5 in most statistical categories as well.
Yeah,
so.
but I'm saying that the thing is, I think Ohio State is like number 1 in all those categories, but Ohio State hasn't played near the schedule.
Yeah,
so,
and I'm not saying they had, they haven't played anybody. I still think they're the best team in the country, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have, a little bit better numbers.
Yeah, a little bit better numbers. So I'm going with OU as well. I expect them to bounce back. I think this team's going to be motivated, playing in front of their home crowd, knowing what's online. You kind of feel like you got away with 2 wins against Tennessee and Alabama. I know if you ask those fan bases, they say OU escaped with a win. I think you still have to force turnovers. I'm not a believer that it's a random thing.
Yeah, no, I still think, that's and I actually mentioned that in the recap episode that it was after the Tennessee game where I was like, oh man, and the Tennessee fan base was getting on our offense and Joey Aguilar about committing turnovers and stuff. And then you watch the Alabama game, it's like, no, that defense just creates turnovers.
Great. They create turnovers. I know they didn't do it earlier in the year. That's why everybody's like, well, they hadn't created turnovers. It's like they were pretty much limiting opponents' opportunities. It's like you had to wait till you got these teams that could actually even move the ball, because if you're putting everybody 3 and out, how many turnovers are you actually going to have?
Well, and the thing is,
it's 3 opportunities.
Well, the thing is, too, with that defense, so they play a Tennessee offense that's high octane. I believe 27, because Tennessee scored 27. I believe that's the most that they've given up all season, if I'm not mistaken.
Ole Miss was probably the most. I think Ole Miss scored.
I thought they scored
34.
That's right. OU scored 26. Yeah. So second, but Lane Kiffin offense, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lane Kiffin.
I digress.
So, there's a reason he's so highly coveted in this coaching search market.
Yeah. Families in Florida, families in Gainesville, and then families in Baton Rouge, but he's not. And then I just saw that.
I would not be happy if I was an Ole Miss fan. I would just say that.
Yeah, there's the whole rumor about him getting an ultimatum, but then he goes on the McAfee show saying he wasn't given an ultimatum. And then he was at the I saw it just before we went live on Twitter. He was in Dallas and tagged SMU, and then Red Ashley quoted his tweet and everything. So I don't know what he's doing, but yeah, that's a different,
Yeah. So we're both going with OU.
Carousel. Yeah, going with OU.
both going with OU over Missouri. Both are kind of relying on that defense, and I think the offense has kind of heard the noise the past 2 weeks. I expect John Mateer to come out, and as he continues to get healthier from that thumb surgery, um, I think it's going to be one of those deals where he's going to progressively get better. And you've seen it; it's slowly gotten better since obviously the Texas game was not his best. And neither was Alabama, but I think Alabama's very good on the defense side of the ball. I expect John Mateer to be able to make some plays, especially against a Missouri secondary, which is probably the weakest part of their defense. Is the secondary as opposed to their front seven, which is probably the better part. Let's go ahead and dive into the other big matchup for the week in a potential playoff elimination game. I know you hesitated to say it. I'm comfortable saying it. I think if Oregon loses this one, they're out. At least it depends on how everything shakes. It's just Oregon doesn't have a lot of quality on their schedule. If they don't win this one against USC, so USC traveling to Eugene, take on Oregon, and where a game that Oregon is actually
I think it went back down to 8.5. It was 7.5, I believe. Then it went up.
It's up to 10.
Oh, it is now. Huh.
10.5.
Because last time I looked at it, it was
ESPN
9.5. So it went up again. Interesting.
Yeah. Everybody seems to really like Oregon in this one. Then you mentioned something about the weather. This one's going to be a rainy game as well.
Yeah. So potentially a raining game. They said that it might be not raining when come game time, but this one was interesting. I mentioned it last on the recap episode that I wanted to talk about this one because it's weird so you have Oregon a few weeks ago, they go into Iowa in Iowa City and they go beat Iowa in Iowa's own kind of game, right? The nasty, wet environment. It was looking like Iowa's game all game, and Oregon squeaks that one out. Then last week, USC hosts Iowa in LA, but it's another rainy, wet, nasty game, and it looked like Iowa was going to. That's the very Iowa game, and it looked like Iowa was going to win. And then, sure enough, USC pulls that one out. So you have USC and Oregon both winning a rainy, wet, nasty Iowa game against Iowa, and then you potentially have this game in Eugene against USC and Oregon. That might be that same thing. So it's like they've both shown that they're capable of playing in and winning a nasty rain game against probably the last team you'd want to see in a rain game like this. And the reason why they did is they both established the run really well, which that's not what they were really known for. Oregon more so is known for it than USC, right? But they weren't really known for the run game. But outside of Mayava throwing for 250 yards ish against Iowa, they were able to run the ball enough against Iowa to win. Same as Oregon. So it's like, can either team establish the run and dominate the time of possession in this game specifically? The other side of it is it's like if it's not super wet, which it might not be, it could very well be one of those high scoring games that you would think a Lincoln Riley USC and a historical Oregon game would be, but it's Dan Lanning, so you never know. Both defenses, though, they're not what you would think of like USC in recent history and that Oregon historically would be, right? Like giving up a lot of points, but scoring more points than they're giving up. It's actually pretty opposite. I mean, Oregon's top 5 in most, if not all, statistical categories defensively. USC's isn't as good, but I think that with USC's offense and how good they are, it really comes down to that matchup, the USC offense versus the Oregon defense. I think Oregon's defense will be the difference maker. I think that with it potentially being a wet game, whether it's raining or not, it'll be a wet game. I just think that Oregon's defense is slightly better than USC's defense, and I think that Jane Mayava, man, he might make a mistake or two. I'm taking Oregon.
Going with Oregon. So just wanted to update y'all on the weather. No rain that day.
Okay, so
40,
I knew it was like 40, it was like for sure rain, and then it was like 50-50. So, and I hadn't checked.
Yeah, it's saying 0% chance from midnight on. It's gonna be about 48 degrees at kickoff, so really good football weather. Hopefully there in Eugene. And for this one, man, here's what I'll say. Lincoln Riley, explosive offense. But what I saw last week in the game, I predicted USC to win last week against Iowa. I thought their offense would be a little too much. They needed it late, but they got it. But what I've seen from this USC team, I think they're they're more complete team than what Lincoln Riley's had. I'm not going to say they are a very complete team. I would say they're more complete than what he's
Give
had.
the man his flowers when he deserves them.
I'm going to go with USC in this one for an upset pick. I think college football is going to college football a little bit. The Big Ten, maybe then you'll have to debate a 9-2 USC, 9-2 Oregon, right there along. Just make the playoff cut just a little crazier.
I think if USC pulls this one out, they absolutely jump into that playoff conversation. It comes down to Michigan and them then at that point, and if they can pull off the upset against Ohio State.
Yeah, and USC they hold the head-to-head over Michigan, so probably in good shape there.
That's the thing though, is that's what makes it interesting, right? So if you have Michigan beating Ohio State, but USC holds the head-to-head, that's one of those things. But we'll get there when we cross that bridge.
Yeah, if we get there. But yeah, I had to go with a couple of upset picks this week because normally how these weeks go, when you're like, man, this is a sleeper slate, then it gets freaking crazy, and it's like, man, what were we talking about? We missed all these freaking good games. When we're trying to predict and preview them, there's a lot of ones that are potentially exciting there that we could talk about. But yeah, I'm going to say the craziness right here, Eugene, Oregon. Lincoln Riley gets probably his biggest win that he's gotten at USC. At least as far as circumstances wise, I think this would, if he wins at Oregon, this is going to be the biggest one that he's won.
So there you have it.
Tenure.
We both took OU, but you're taking USC. I'm taking Oregon.
Got to go with a little slight rooting interest because there is nothing more than I'd want to see than a USC team traveling to Norman and in a home playoff game, because you want to talk about a toxic environment. That would be absolutely.
Hey, that might be the next mustard bottle thrown at a coach since Tennessee did it to Lane Kiffin when Ole Miss traveled to Neyland.
Yeah, it would be absolutely. That Norman would be on fire for that one. So yeah, rooting interest aside, I think USC has a chance here, and I'm really banking on most complete team Lincoln Riley's had. Maybe catch a little fire here and just make the playoff picture a little crazy in what looks like a sleeper slate for the week, because we all know this is college football and that's not how it goes.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, let's so you had this one on there. I was kind of confused, but then you explained it to me. So, and this makes sense because we need to talk about this one. It's a little interesting situation. It's a little situation going on. So we wanted to talk about, me and Murdoch wanted to talk about Miami traveling to Blacksburg, Virginia, to play Virginia Tech, 3-7 Virginia Tech. So you would think, so I'm picking Miami to win this game still. But the reason why we want
to get that out early with you, Miami.
But we still want to talk about this game because obviously, for those who don't know, but I'm sure most people do know now at this point, James Franklin is just got hired as the Virginia Tech head coach. Well, what was explained to me recently that I didn't even realize, because I didn't even think it was possible, Virginia Tech's new head coach, James Franklin, will be on the sideline coaching this game in Blacksburg, Virginia. And when I was told that, I was like, oh, well, I didn't know. That kind of changes things. Now, like I said, still taking Miami, but it's one thing to note that James Franklin is going to be on the field coaching, managing this football team after however many weeks ago he was the head coach at Penn State.
It's just, man, it's the college football. We'll talk about it in the offseason on how we could me and you will make our pitch on how we fix college football. But it's the world we live in, right? We had to, we have a dumpster fire of what Penn State imagines, like, oh, we got to get rid of James Franklin. He can't, our season fell apart. Get rid of him. And it's like, well, we're getting rid of him so early in the season that, heck, he's getting hired by a team that also got rid of their head coach. And he's like, He's like, well, why wouldn't I, coach? He's like, it gives me a perfect opportunity to evaluate my coordinators, and see if who I want to keep around, what players I want to keep around. You can't think of a better evaluation spot than right there on the sideline while you're in it with all these people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean,
It's an interesting matchup, or excuse me, it's actually an interesting situation going on there in Blacksburg. But I mean, I support it. Like if he's the head guy, right? You want to? It's the cool, like you said before we went live. It's the coolest interview you could have. You be your offensive defensive coordinator, or whatever, and you're basically being interviewed by your boss in a football game.
Yeah, I mean that is the audition. He's like, let's see what we got. He will have no better sense of going into the offseason of, hey, where do I need to make adjustments? Where do I need to improve this football team? Because I think this is we didn't even touch on it. This is an absolute fantastic hire for Virginia Tech.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's probably the best thing you could have asked for.
Right?
Timing wise.
Yeah, timing wise, like the pressure at Penn State is not the same as what it is at Virginia Tech. But if he's able to bring, just bring some of the success to Virginia Tech, who has had a successful program in the past.
Well, and he's still got all the connections up there. I mean, he was at Penn State, like up in that region. Yeah. He's got all the connections still, the recruiting connections, the high school, all that. So that's he can still recruit that area. And I saw something earlier tonight before we went live. Virginia Tech this week for the Miami games hosting like 6 Penn State commits.
Yeah. Well, that's what you get whenever you freaking let him go in the middle of the season, right?
Yep.
We're not even to the sign-off point. So whenever you do that, guess what?
That stadium's normally always rocking anyways on home games with Enter Sandman. It's going to be rocking this Saturday with James Franklin coaching the game. And then you got those recruits coming. Like, my opinion on them firing Penn State. Firing James Franklin at Penn State.
I think, Penn State's probably not going to like what he builds at Virginia Tech. But overall, you can't think for a better situation for the Hokies there, right?
Yeah, no,
it's great. As far as what you got what you got left on the slate, you're playing with free money if you're James Franklin. Nobody expects you to go win these last 2 games.
Well, if I was their AD, or if they got a GM, you hand him the keys to Blacksburg and say, hey, let's do what you did at Penn State.
And we will be perfectly fine. You will have a job here forever.
Yep. We build a statue 10-2 every year.
Yeah, 10-2. Sign me. Every Virginia Tech.
But Virginia Tech,
sign me up.
10-2 every year. You're probably making the ACC championship every year, right? So it's like,
and then if you're doing that,
probably making
playoffs.
So
playoffs.
talking about playoffs.
I'm talking about playoffs. We're talking about playoffs at Virginia Tech is what we're talking about.
All right. Let's move.
2 more.
Yeah, we got 2 more. I was gonna say let's move on to another. It's the ACC matchup. Pittsburgh.
Speaking of the ACC,
Pittsburgh travels to Atlanta to play Georgia Tech.
2.5 point spread on this one.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I think the line is maybe because of the struggles that Georgia Tech had against Boston College last week. I think this one. I think that Brent Key gets guys right. It was the scare last week, 1-9 Boston College. I just don't think that they're. It's kind of that game was kind of their wake up call. They almost lost to 1-9 teams. Like, I think that they're gonna figure this one out. Haynes King is seemingly unstoppable in ACC games, whether it's close to a 1-9 team or not. And then after seeing how Pitt fared against Jeremiah Love, Georgia Tech's run game, I think it just finds its way back and continues to dominate and Haynes King continues to shine. I'm taking Georgia Tech. It was pretty easy for me to pick this one. I think we don't share notes, but I think I saw his pick on this one. I'll let him. You go ahead, sir.
So for this one, right? My thing about this one is that we saw Pitt. They just played Notre Dame, right? We just mentioned what kind of a buzzsaw Notre Dame was.
Potential buzzsaw.
Potential buzzsaw. We're not giving them the title yet. They're a buzzsaw, but their blades might not be all the way sharp. We're gonna see. But Georgia Tech is. It wasn't just they struggled a little bit with. They just lost 2 weeks ago, didn't they? They lost to NC State.
I don't believe so.
Am I wrong there?
Here, be able
I'm looking
to.
at their last 5. Um, yeah, yeah, they lost it in NC State.
Was it okay? So it was okay.
48,
Yeah.
48-36. And then they come out after the bye week after losing that game,
NC
and they
State
play
also beat Virginia earlier this year, but apparently that wasn't a
conference
ACC
game.
game. Weirdly, but
Yeah, I don't know how you can get away with that. I think that's that's just absolutely ludicrous.
so
But
Virginia's still in the fight.
yeah, yeah. But then you come out and you're thinking, hey, we just came off our first loss of the season. We're going to need a really bounce back game. We got a good opportunity here with Boston College, and we play a nail biter against Boston College. Almost come out asleep. I think Pitt, as much as Narduzzi said, he said, hey, we don't care about the Notre Dame game. Why? Because we're still in the ACC championship hunt. I think they're really good on the offensive side of the ball, and they can stress Georgia Tech and make Georgia Tech have to score with them, which Georgia Tech's been capable of. I mean, Haynes King, I mean, he's kind of a gamer, right? That's kind of been kind of his niche since he's been at Georgia Tech. He's a gamer, late in games, can win you out some real close ones that maybe you shouldn't have won, but you got him at quarterback, so you're real thankful there. Uh, but I think we're going to see another version of the Pitt offense, maybe take another step forward. Uh, we'll see. I think this is just this. I'm chalking this one up to another kind of, hey, it's college football and this is a sleeper slate. Maybe it's crazy. That's kind of my logic here. 2.5-point spread. I mean, basically Georgia Tech's getting the
It's a
home
close
line.
one for sure.
It's a pick 'em with Georgia Tech getting the home line. But yeah, give me Pitt coming off the loss to Notre Dame. I think they'll be motivated, and they still want to win the ACC championship. It'll
Potential.
put
So
you in it.
I was gonna say this is potentially a playoff game.
Yeah,
This would eliminate Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
from the playoffs. This would actually probably eliminate Pitt from the playoffs too.
I mean, if they lose, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I would
I
say
mean, even
this
if they
is a playoff
win, they're
game.
not guaranteed in. Like that's that's
the thing I said. That's why I said potentially a playoff game because, yes, if the ACC, if we assume that the ACC champion gets a bid, then this would be a playoff game, potential playoff game because we still don't know that yet, just based on kind of how the ACC's played out and how some of the Group of 5 conferences have played out. So, but I would definitely treat this if I were Georgia Tech or Pitt as a playoff game.
Also, if you're an ACC connoisseur, which I don't think we have many on here, but if you are, be on the lookout for that SMU team.
Sneaky.
Hanging around. Look bad early, but hanging around. So yeah, you're going with Georgia Tech. I'm going with a little college football madness.
Yeah, I think I took the favorites so far.
Yeah, you have. I'm going with Pitt. Thinking college football is going to college football a little bit this weekend. Knowing how that works is that means it's probably going to be OU loses and then everybody else wins, and then that's the craziest that we had. So knowing that just
you just spoke it. You just spoke it into existence.
It'll be all right. We're gonna knock on wood, boys. I believe in y'all. Get on the last game, Big 12. What we thought until Cincinnati just lost recently, we thought this was going to be a really, kind of huge pivotal matchup. We both thought Texas Tech was going to beat BYU, and they did handily. So then you're going to have a 9-1 BYU versus like a 7-2 Cincinnati, but not what we got. Cincinnati ended up losing, and BYU comes into Cincinnati as a 2.5-point favorite. I still think that BYU is going to be able to have success rushing the football, and I think that's how you pretty much beat this BYU team is if you're able to limit their running opportunities. They're not going to be able to throw the ball all over the yard on you, but if they're able to run the ball successfully, then I think it's I think they can kind of get their way and be able to score points the way they want to, and it kind of makes everything else open up as far as like Bachmeier in the passing game, that sort of thing. So if BYU is able to run the ball, I think they will against Cincinnati. That's going to make me want to go with. I want to take BYU on the road here, as I think if you don't make them one-dimensional on offense, I think they're pretty competitive on the defensive side of the ball, and they're able to score points pretty effectively. Can't hear you.
Sorry, I had myself muted there.
It's all good.
Yeah, no, I think there's too much on the line here for BYU. There is for Cincinnati as well. but I just think that there's a little bit more drive with BYU, and when it comes to the run game, I concede that as well. I think BYU just wants to taste Texas Tech again. I think that after that abysmal showing in Lubbock, it was kind of like you know, they're a good team. And when it comes to the Big 12, BYU is a good team. That's why they only have the one loss, or I guess two losses now, right?
No, BYU's only
Well,
got
yeah,
one.
the one loss. Okay, yeah. So they were undefeated going into that game. Yeah, I think they're with their only loss being against Texas Tech, man.
I
They're
don't think
gonna
they
have
want to
they're
see
gonna.
Texas Tech again. No, just me.
You say that, right? But I think that for as the athletes, I mean, I think they definitely do want to see them again. And then
Yeah.
it being in Dallas, right? So you're not going back to Lubbock. Lubbock was obviously a hell of a show in there. Stadium wise and stuff. The Jones was rocking.
Even
Um,
without the tortillas.
Even yeah, well, that's yeah, different conversation. But yeah, I mean, yes, it's in Cincinnati. Um, man, I would take. I'm taking BYU to win this game. I think I kind of already said that without saying it, but man, I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to cover. I know it's only 2.5. Um, Cincinnati's a good team, right? But they're gonna play well. I think that they'll be able to throw the ball. I trust their offense, trust their pass game. But yeah, I think the BYU run game, it's gonna be able to control the clock a little bit more. And with Bear Bachmeyer being back there, and I just like I said, I keep going back to I think BYU just they know what they need to do now to get to Texas Tech again, or to Dallas against Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And I think they do want to see them again. I think they really do want to see them again because that's I mean, this sounds like any dumb person could say this, but that's their ticket into the playoff. So,
Right.
so I just think that BYU is going to have a little bit more drive. We'll see. It's basically a pick 'em game, more or less, but with the 3 points to the home side, I would still consider this a pick 'em game. I am taking BYU. I probably wouldn't take them to cover. I know 2.5 is very, very small, but I think Cincinnati's going to show up to play. But yeah, I think BYU is going to pull this one out.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati, they ranked 86th in the country in rush defense. Um, Now, granted,
Exactly.
they're better on the offensive side of the ball. They're 88th in pass defense, so defensively they're not very good. But the big thing is that rushing number, right? If that was more like in the 40s or something along those lines, I might be a little more hesitant. I just don't. I just think if you give this BYU, if you allow them to run the football like they like to, then that just opens up their passing offense, and that kind of allows them to score points at a high level. And then I think the BYU defense is pretty balanced. I mean, I'm not saying they're elite, but they're not bad. They're a good, solid defense that's going to challenge you offensively. So I mean, if BYU's able to get what they want in the running game, matchup tends to favor that. You got to go with BYU to get the job done. Rely on that run game because that travels, and as well so does the defense. So rely on BYU to get the road win against Cincinnati and get their opportunity. Set the stage for their opportunity. As long as they don't drop the ball against UCF, set the stage for their opportunity to play Texas Tech and get their redemption. If they want to be a
Yep.
playoff team, that's your path.
Yep. That is literally their only way now. Went out and beat Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. And I think that's kind of what their eyes are set on. So we'll wait and see. We're getting to crunch time here.
Getting to crunch time. But other than that, y'all, that's all we're gonna have for y'all for this episode. Just a quick recap. Mizzou OU, both OU, USC Oregon. Monty's taking Oregon. I'm going USC. Miami, Virginia Tech. We're both going Miami. We just want to touch on that one because of the James Franklin note. Georgia Tech, Pitt. Monty's going Georgia Tech. I'm taking Pitt, and then we're both going with BYU. So I guess we shall see. We'll have a little bit of differences come next week, but we plan on it. I'm off all next week, so we should be able to get an episode out to y'all next week for a recap and a preview. Other than that, man, that's all we got. Monty, you got anything on the closing?
No, like I said, yeah, getting to crunch time this season, getting some rivalry games, getting some here and there games, but man, we're getting down to crunch time. I believe I mentioned in the recap episode, I fear, but in a good way. This is a good fear, but I fear there's going to be a lot of 10-2 teams come Selection Saturday or Selection Sunday for the College Football Playoff Committee. But that's above
Sets
my
up
pay
a lot
grade.
of room for debate.
Yeah, that's above my pay grade. We'll wait and see, and I'm sure we'll critique the heck out of it. So excited to see what happens. But it's a time game, ticking time bomb.
Ticking time bomb. And we'll be here to walk y'all through the process as we go week by week. We thank y'all for tuning in. As always, subscribe to the show, follow the show wherever you listen to your podcast, follow it on YouTube. Comment, man, interact with us. We're down. We got somebody helping us out on the social medias. Old Day, who's done a couple episodes with us. So he's helping us out with the social media game. So, like I said, comment, interact with us, man. We love it. If we're wrong, tell us we're wrong. Tell us how you're right. We're cool with it, man. We're at the end of the day, we just like talking.
And we'll tell you while we're right.
Exactly. We'll stand our ground. We will stand our ground. And until then, we will catch y'all next week on the Monty and Murdy College Football Show. Peace.